So what are we looking at right now, Brian?
So this is the main, so it's a 2-story building. And can you see it now with the lights on?
Beautiful.
So I don't know if you've ever been in here. I mean, the building's been around for
Long time.
30, 40 years, longer. Yeah, 30, 40 years. And it was used by the Moose Lodge. So it's 2 stories. Where you can see in here the bathrooms and
How many bathrooms are there?
or sorry, on the main floor. And there's 2 or 3.
Yeah. And how big is that space? It looks pretty big, Brian.
Yeah, let's go back down. Feet per floor. I think the might be slightly smaller, but we'll go upstairs.
Was it 2 rooms or 1 room?
Down on the main floor?
Yeah.
What kind of 2 rooms? Like it's kind of like an open concept style.
Right.
So this is one. So we're upstairs now.
Yeah.
And this is the, office, I guess, sort of. Storage closet.
Yeah.
Bathroom.
Got it.
Other storage, I guess. Little office.
Is that a 3rd floor?
Kind of. Like we're up a half flight of stairs, like 6 steps to get up to this.
And what are we seeing now?
Well, this, I don't know, it has a big industrial tap. $100 amps. Another bathroom.
That's really a cool space. Oh, look at that. Is that a wet bar?
Yep.
Okay, when do I move in? Wow, that's how big is, don't go anywhere. You're
like
going, Brian, you're going too fast.
Okay.
So
it's almost like a pyramid type building. So you go up to the 2nd floor, you've got space on the left-hand side of the building, and then you go up a half flight.
Yeah.
Stairs, as you saw.
Yeah.
Right. And we're up on the top of the pyramid, so to speak.
So just to give you a little bit of insight, when it comes to tours on Zoom, you have to go much, much slower. You're going too fast for me, okay? Just because when you're in the physical space, you can absorb stuff a lot quicker, okay?
Yeah.
So just go slower.
Okay.
All right. So
so we've gone up 1.5 flights of stairs.
Right, and we have a room that has plenty of exits. Just to the left there, just go back to the left. There's what's in there? That door, there's a bathroom there, and then there's another door just to the right of that.
Yeah, so 2 bathrooms.
2 bathrooms, okay.
Yeah, right. I guess male, female.
Right. Male and female, and then turn around again, and you've got a space there. How big do you think this room is?
Well, actually, let me just walk it out here.
Yeah, just pace, each of your.
It's about 25 feet by 25 by 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30. So 25 by 30. So that's what's that? 750 square feet.
Yeah.
Plus this little, let's call it 800 feet.
Well, plus you've got your 2 bathrooms.
Yeah.
Plus you've got your wet bar.
Yeah. So about 800, 850.
Yeah. So you can imagine what I'm getting at here in terms of a makerspace. In fact, I think there are two entrances to this upper floor, correct?
Sort of like where we came.
Yeah,
This is where we came from downstairs.
yeah.
And then as you pan across, there's another room when you
Oh,
go
there's a
down.
room down there. Let's go down there.
Yeah, but I don't think there's an exit in this room here.
No, I understand that. So there's a room half a level down. What is that room?
Well, it's more or less the same size, maybe slightly smaller. Maybe it's 700 feet instead of 850.
Wow.
And it's just, I don't know, meeting room
And then
space.
you've got a little office there?
Yeah. Little, probably 9 feet by 7, 60, 65 square foot.
Isn't that interesting? And is there a bathroom on that level too?
So you've got another storage closet here, which is an L shape. So you're looking at probably closer to 100 feet or 89 feet.
Yeah.
Bathroom on this side. No, there's water. You can see the tank.
Yeah. Is there a shower in the building?
No.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Although there looks like there might have been once upon a time, because you have, we're going back up to the very top.
Yeah.
In this male bathroom here,
Yeah.
you've got
Oh, it looks like it was something.
possibly at one point. I mean, you could put it back in without.
Yeah, not too hard. Yeah, are we alone now, or
Sorry. Well, I'm upstairs. We're upstairs and they're downstairs.
yeah? So they can't really hear us, right?
Not too well.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. And if you look under the ceiling tile, how high is the? Look up there. How high is the roof? Or you're pretty much at the.
I'll look for another spot because that has insulation just 6 inches.
Yes. What is the ceiling height where you are now? Is it about 7 feet or 8 feet?
You can see me, right? I can touch it on my tippy toes.
So
yeah, probably 7.
It's probably about 7 feet with maybe another 6 inches beyond the ceiling tiles.
Yeah, you can kind of, I don't know if you can get the gap.
I can see it.
Yeah, I can't really quite reach. I guess this is a bit, so it's, yeah, solid 6 inches.
Yeah.
I guess the whole ceiling is insulated. That must be fire code, I guess.
Could just be to keep the building warmer.
Yeah. And then at the very top, it's about the same. It's about a 7 foot. Well, actually, it's a bit.
Yeah, you've got
probably
about
6
7'6", right?
Yeah. So I'm guessing that the total square footage of the building over the 2.5 floors is a solid 6,000 feet.
Okay. That's amazing. So, Brian,
Yeah.
Are we alone, or can other people hear us right now?
Hang on a sec. People can probably hear. I just closed the door.
All right. So how many maker spaces are we looking at when you go up to the top floor, then the tippy top, and then you come down the pyramid to the next floor down, and then the next floor down? I mean, you're there in reality, so you have a better sense of it than I do.
Well, how big are your individual spaces?
Maker spaces are typically anywhere from 350 square feet on the small side to about 850 square feet on the large size.
So if you did exclusively on the small side, just to keep it easy for calculations, you could probably do, because you have to get access on the
right.
The last side. You could do probably 2, 4, 5. So you could do 5 on the top half of the building, right? And and you could probably do 6 to 7 downstairs on the main floor. There's no basement, so you could do between 10 and 15 approximately total.
Are you running out of battery?
No.
Okay.
No, I think someone just texted me. That's why it beeps.
And, you know, I'm just asking, is there the possibility of people both working there and living there or not?
Only if you cheat, because the amount of money you'd have to spend to legalize it for residential.
Oh, no, we're not doing anything. We're not doing shit to this building. What we're going to do is, you know, when I'm renting maker spaces, they're maker spaces, Brian. Let me emphasize maker. So when I rented to Joel Rabideau on the weekend, I'm not doing a damn thing. He's putting up the walls for his own workshop. I mean, that's what he does. I'm not doing it because this is commercial leasing, right? So residential is different. Something else that I found out from Steve Shepard, you may already know this, but I did not. If you do a commercial lease with somebody and you have accessory residential, they're not covered by the Residential Tenancy Act. Did you know that?
No, no.
So my lease with Joel Rabideau, I'll share that lease with you. It's 100% lease. And so if he doesn't pay his bills, I don't have to go to the RTA and beg, you know, for 4 or 5, 6 months to get him out.
And what about, like, do you have like legal, like, I don't care that much, like in terms of legalities, other than.
I beg your pardon?
You know, if.
Brian, I didn't hear you, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Like, so I don't want to come off as like Pollyannish in terms of like legals. I don't really give a fuck that much. But my only concern about allowing people to live here is, you know, if there's a fire or some sort of.
Oh yeah, no. So what I did with Joel, I did the same thing with Joel. He's renting a workshop from me, and up in the loft, it's offices, right?
Okay, and
so
if he decides to put a bed in,
if he decides to live in it, you know, I didn't know.
Decision. Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm getting at? Like literally. By the way, you know, I'm making him follow the Ontario Building Code. I am. He will do fire separation and all the other stuff that he has to do. But his lease is 100% commercial. But if, for example, if you were actually keeping this building and having workshops and micro suites or workshops and studio suites, and you wanted it to be legalized, you can certainly do that. You can fire separate them properly. And again, you would have a commercial lease with an accessory residential use. Because it's a barn, I don't want to go through the hassle of rezoning it. I'm not doing that for a fucking barn. I'm not going to spend $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 rezoning a barn. So I said to Joel, if you and your wife want to live there, I don't need to know anything about it. What you're doing is you're renting a workshop, and upstairs you're building 2 offices, a wet bar, a meeting room, and that's it. No cupboards, nothing like that. And if you happen to put an armoire in there and a bed, you don't tell me about it.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so let me say goodbye to these guys and thank you, and then I'll call you back if that works.
Can we I apologize again. It takes me a little longer because I'm not there physically with you.
You want to walk through again?
Could you walk me through again? Go to the top of the building and walk me through one more time and describe it and what you're seeing, exactly what you're doing now, slowly. But go to the top of the building. Are we on the top now?
Well, no, I'm on the bottom part of the top, like the.
Okay, go right up to the top, so we'll have it, you know, because I'm recording this, and when we go back down, can you turn the camera around again so I can say a proper goodbye to Hany and Joe?
Sure. So we're on the very top, the space with the wet bar and the 2 bathrooms.
Describe the fire exit.
So we've got a fire exit here with solid steel or solid wood door. We've also got an emergency exit.
Can you open that? And what do you see?
So a fire escape. That's the parking lot. It's very bright out. I don't know if there's some glare.
I can see it perfectly.
Okay.
And what's that roof over there? What's that? Is there a door there to your right? No, just to the right. What's that?
Yeah, I think that is the step down room, the other side.
Yeah.
And that's the. I wonder if they brought the hot water tank in through there.
Okay.
We'll go back there and check.
Okay. How many parking spaces are you seeing?
As many as you need. Like, so can you see the fence
I can.
with the bushes? So
Yep.
that's part of the property line.
Wow.
Can you see the gray vinyl fence now?
Yes, I can.
That's the other property line.
It's huge.
And yeah, so you see the black car, the white van, and
Yep.
the Audi. So that's the other property line, the painted, you know, the parking spots. That's the back
Right.
property line. Now you can't here actually. No sense in being lazy. I'll just walk.
Don't lock yourself out.
No, no. See the yellow line. So you see
Yeah.
the red car.
Yeah.
So in front of it, you have got a long continuous yellow line.
Right.
So I think that's the left-hand border. So it's about 14,000 square feet, the lot.
It's incredible. And
So,
what about the awning there?
wait,
Just to your left. Yeah, that thing. What is that?
just a shade, just an awning.
And what's below that? Is that an overhead door or something?
Where's that?
Is there underneath that awning? Is there a bench there?
Yeah, there's just a little bus bench.
So that's where the smokers have been going.
Yeah, and this is where we came in.
Very cool.
Trying to see the door there in the corner, but
All right.
that's where we came in. And Montreal Road. So we're at the corner effectively of the Venia Parkway, Montreal Road.
Oh wow.
So you see the Shoppers. So this is the back of that plaza on the corner.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you've driven by this 100 times. So in the front of that, obviously, is Montreal Road. And what you can't see, maybe you can hear the banging, but if you walked straight through this building for about 300 feet, 400 feet, you'd hit the Aggerwals development that is currently under construction. That's
incredible.
7 buildings.
I know what they're doing there. Brian, when you look out the window on the far side of the building, can you see the river? Just go over to the window way over the other side. Can you see the Rideau River?
No, there's trees that.
But just look out, if you don't mind, put your camera, phone right up against the window. I'll be able to see out, and we'll have it here. So am I right that across the street from you, if you get up high enough, you can see the river?
Oh yeah, I don't think you'd have to go up that high, like maybe 3 or 4 stories. I don't know if you.
There's more parking there.
Yeah, I don't know who. I don't know if that's the mall owners. Or I'm not sure.
That would be interesting to ask Hany who owns that parking.
Yeah.
And is it public parking? Can you park there overnight? I mean, can you park there without, if you're part of the building? Can you ask when you go downstairs?
Yeah, absolutely. So.
Okay, I got it.
We're at the top again.
Yep.
And we're going down on the.
This is really neat. This is awesome. Can you imagine a makerspace in here? What a cool spot that would be.
Yeah. So this is the door. That little, when we're inside that tiny little door with the padlock.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. So they probably, I mean, you can imagine how quickly and easy it is just to throw the tank up here through that door, just up the fire escape. And
right on.
So yeah, you're looking at about 700 to 800 square feet with.
If I remember now, there's an office at the end.
Yeah, so one office in here,
a small office there, and then there was a storage room which was an L shape. Did I get that right?
Yeah, here.
There we go. Wow, what a place! Imagine if you set up a makerspace in there, Brian. What an awesome place it would be.
Yeah, no, I agree. And then.
Okay, now where are we going?
Back to the very top.
Okay.
With the 2 bathrooms and the wet bar.
Yep.
And we're walking back over. So this is the other step down. So you've got.
What's this in here now?
I guess storage.
Yeah, very cool. Wow.
Could be, I guess, a small, tiny office.
Yeah, could be.
This is more of an office.
Yeah. Huh. You got air conditioning, you got everything.
Yeah. And kind of the same idea on the other side with office.
Yep.
And just to give you perspective, we're
Okay.
in the back of the building, right?
Got it.
So,
Yeah, makes sense. Now I've got it.
and little bathroom
Jesus.
and another storage.
Yeah, another storeroom. Well, if you're a maker and you've got, you know, valuable stuff that you need to store, parts or whatever, you've got lots of
Yeah.
places to poke your stuff away.
Yeah. So we're going back down to the main
Yep.
floor. So there's an entrance / exit here.
Yep.
So I guess there's 3 exits on the main floor, 2 in the front and 2 in the back.
So
So
are there 5 or are there 3?
3 on the main floor. So there's that one which we just saw, and that leads upstairs as well.
Got it. Wow.
The 2 bathrooms. So these are more like the full
Right.
bathrooms.
But no shower.
No shower. No.
Hey, you just take out one of the stalls, you got a shower. If you wanted one. What a great building. It's too bad that they've just let it sit there. How long has it been sitting there empty?
2.5 years. So the Hany's longer term plans was to tear it down,
Yeah.
and there's Hany there. But most of the people that had reached out to him in terms of leasing, they wanted, as you know, 5-year, 10-year,
Oh, yeah.
and he didn't want to make that sort of commitment to anyone, given that the longer term plans for the building was redevelopment, right?
Yeah, it makes sense.
To knock it down.
Makes sense.
And so you've got a full-fledged kitchen in here, commercial kitchen,
Wow.
kitchen. What is it? What do you call it? Fridge.
Yep. Walk-in fridge.
Yeah. And well, I guess you have 4, or no? Yeah, you've got 1 second here.
Look at this place.
You've got more storage here. It's a little dark, but
I can see it. Your phone is compensating. When it gets lighter, it compensates, and when it gets darker, it compensates. What kind of phone you got?
Samsung.
Nice.
And you've got, I guess, another emergency exit. So on the main floor, there's 2 front doors and 2 back doors. So for 4 entrances and exits.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah, and then you got a little bit of a stage here that
Yeah, I can see
you
it.
can sing and dance. And
Oh, this is amazing. It's really, really incredible. What do you go when you turn to the left there? Hang a left, 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 a little bit further. There's another door. Where does that go up? That door over
this,
there.
so this is the front door.
Oh, that's the front door you came in. So can you go out there one more time and just look to your left and look to your right? What? Yeah, that parking. I mean, does it belong to this building or not?
Let me ask. Is this public parking, Hany, in the front, or does it belong to the mall? I'm just not sure.
Does it belong to him?
But it doesn't belong. Like your property line ends here, right? Yeah. Okay. So the property line for the building, is basically the sidewalk.
But is that a road in front? Is that Kendall?
Yeah, this is Kendall Avenue where we are here.
Yeah. Can you go out and cross the street to where the parking is and look back at the building?
Yeah.
Without getting run over?
It's kind of one of those weird streets, right? Because like,
Okay.
you know, it
go slow. Go slow. Go slow. Okay. So yeah, real slow. That, you know, because when you go fast like that, I feel like puking.
Okay.
It's like
It's a
like
weird street. Like it appears that it has 2 addresses. It has this one, right? And then it has this low-rise walk-up. Is that what you call that?
Yep.
Yeah. And this building, I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's new, right? The blue building, the
Yeah.
glass, about
What
3
is it?
years old. And I think it's a federal government.
Wow.
Chuck seems to think that it's RCMP or something like that because there's no signage on it whatsoever. And that's the new building that was built, MacArthur and the Vanier Parkway,
Yeah.
I think in 2017 or
I'm pretty
2018.
sure that's either RCMP or CSIS or the Canadian Security Agency.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't put a name on it, you know, and one of my former students works in that building.
Okay. I mean, it's a nice looking all blue glass.
Yeah, yeah, but he's like a super secret coder. You know, he's one of those white hat hackers, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Okay.
But I think this parking across the street is public, and does it say 2-hour limit or not?
Oh, actually, there's a sign here. Hang
Yeah, I
on.
was going to ask you to look at that.
Well, it just says unauthorized vehicles.
And if you look, just if you don't mind, just if you could, without hurting yourself, can you look?
Maybe it's for this building here.
Could be, but could you go to the edge of the fence and just look through the leaves and see what you're seeing? What's across, you know, if you
It's the part, yeah, it's the Vanier.
That's the, so if you just go in there and stick your phone out, we'll see the Vanier Parkway, and beyond the Vanier Parkway, that's got to be the Rideau River or Rideau Canal.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, like I don't know. Yeah, I mean, you'd have to be up on your at least 3 stories, maybe 4, I would think. And just to give you, I mean, I know you know what 14,000 feet looks like, but this is the edge of the property, so you.
So you know as well as I do that downtown on Rideau Street, which is not that far away, properties that were selling for $300 or $400 a square foot just 2 years ago are now selling for $700 a square foot. And one of my clients has a 20,000 square foot site downtown, and he's asking $25 million for it. So that works out to $1,250 a square foot. So
are you talking about land value or building?
Sorry, excuse me.
Are you talking about land build, like
land value, yeah. So you could buy a site. Yeah. So downtown Ottawa, as you know, any site you are likely to buy is either a parking lot or already has a building on it. But the buildings that are on it are just knockdowns. So one 12,000 square foot site was valued recently by an appraiser at $9 million. So that's about $700 a square foot. And one of my clients has a building downtown on Rideau Street, which is bigger. It's a building, but it's a knockdown. It's 20,000 square feet, and he has it listed for sale for $25 million, which is well over $1,200 a square foot.
So his ask is 3.4 million.
Yeah.
You know, your back of the napkin estimate, like I don't know, does that sound like that's about a third of what your downtown prices are?
That's
maybe
about $243 a square foot. And if we
sounds relatively cheap on first blush.
So if we had been talking 2 years ago, that would have been on the high end.
Yeah.
But that's when downtown property was $300 to $400 a square foot. This would have been, you know, not quite at that level, but, you know, significant, certainly a significant number. Today, when you're looking at $700 and possibly over $1,000, I think that's a very good price.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're putting, say, a 70-unit building, 70 apartments, and whether they're rentals or condos, I mean, I think the per door value, more or less, like, I mean, I don't want to do a big complex calculation. Like, I'm thinking brand new construction at like a B+ level, right? So I'm not talking like a 5,000 a month apartment. I'm talking like 2,500, maybe 3,000.
Yeah.
I got to think that's $300,000 to $400,000 a door. So at the low end, 300 times 70 units is 21 million, and at 4 it'd be 28 million, plus your ground floor retail. So you've got a building that's probably going to be what, 35 million
Yeah,
finished value.
something like that.
And if it's $400 a foot to build, so say if so you got 70 times 700 is 49,000 square feet plus 7,000 for the ground floor. So what's that? 56,000. Add in 15% anyways. So you're talking maybe 70,000 feet of total gross square footage. So if it's costing you $300, it's 21 million. So you're looking at 10, $15 million profit.
Yeah, I do think that's probably not that far off. And I can tell you that I think 70 units would be too little. I think the yield on 14,000 square feet should be probably double that.
So this is what Hany, and I don't know if you know this, and I mean, it's easy I haven't looked into it, but Hany had said you can do parallel applications nowadays, that you can put forth an application for what's permitted. So in this case, like 70 units, 8 stories, 9 stories, but you can also do a second application that is submitted at the same time for the variance that will allow you to go to, say, 14 stories. And if you don't, and if the time comes when it's like it's too much money, it's too long or whatever, or it's a no on the exception, you just stick with the original application. Have you heard that? Like that?
No, that's new to me. Do 2 applications in parallel, maybe. I know that the last time I talked to Bill Malhotra, when he was trying to get his building on Preston Street approved, which he said, maybe I can get 35 or 40 stories. He, the story, he applied for 55, never dreaming for a minute that he would actually get it.
Okay, so he just asked,
yeah, he went for the
right?
moon and the stars, and throw in Mars as well, and and Saturn and Uranus or whatever they call it, and Neptune and Jupiter, and said, Bruce, I'll never get it. And then when I think he got 52 stories, he fell off his chair with delight.
Okay.
So I would be inclined to talk to, I mean, if you're still comfortable with Bill Holtzman, I'd be inclined to ask him that. But to me, 2 applications is a sign of weakness. It's kind of already saying to council and the planners, that, yeah, okay, we recognize we're not going to get it. So we're okay with 8 stories. I don't know, but I think if Bill Malhotra were on this call with you and me, he would say, Bruce, Brian, have the courage of your convictions, ask for 14, ask for 18 stories. How tall is that building down the road, the one that you're looking at, if you don't mind showing me again, the one, the RCMP or CSIS building down the road? Can you look at it again? Can you
see it now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I don't know, 11, 12?
Yeah, so I would ask for 14 to 16 stories. Something like that, maybe 18, but I would certainly ask for more because,
and,
Brian, if you
who's
get
your friend there? What's her name? Is it Lapine? Yeah, Lapine.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Oh,
there, can you see that behind in the distance?
Your camera's turned off. You'll have to turn it back on.
Sorry, hang on here.
Okay. It's saving battery power.
There, okay. So you can see that. So that's 11 or 12 is the blue building.
Yeah.
The Lapine, I think that's the Lapine apartment. Behind, I know. Can you see behind it, kind of? Just the edge of it.
Yeah.
That looks higher. That looks like 14 to 16 stories.
Yeah. So Brian, I did a back of the envelope calculation while you were talking. Just keep focusing on those 2 buildings down there. Yeah. So just swing your camera a little bit to the left. There you go. Yeah. So the thing is that, it's pretty hard for the city to argue that you can only have 8 stories when they've already permitted buildings within a couple of 100 meters that are
not even, it's probably 100.
That are 12 to 18 stories. So I might be inclined to talk to the city about maybe 18, because let me just walk you through it. If you did get 16 stories and you got 140 units instead of 70, your cost per of land per square foot of built up space is probably $30 a square foot. So what I'm saying is that when you take the $3.4 million and you get 140 units, that works out to about $30 per square foot of land for every apartment that you're building. A decade or a decade and a half ago, somebody like John Dorn at Domicile would pay $20 per square foot of built up area for land. And then it went to 30, then it went to 40. So I'm seeing lots and lots of land trading at $40 to $50 per square foot of built up area. So if you have an 800 square foot apartment and you spend $50 per square foot of land, it means that you've got $40,000 in that apartment just in the cost of raw land. Are you following me?
Yeah.
So, and that's a little bit on the high side. And at $60, so if you only got 70 units, you would be around $60. So it means that for an 800 square foot apartment, you would have $48,000 per apartment of raw land costs. That's quite a bit.
It's starting to get expensive.
It's starting to get a bit expensive because, you know, I wish land was all you had to worry about, land and construction, but by the time you add development charges and building permit costs and financing costs, and I don't have to tell you about fees. By the time you add all of that up, you're at $325,000, maybe even $350,000 per apartment. It starts to get expensive, and then you will be at $3,000 a month in rents, maybe even a little bit higher. And you know, I understand the economics, but if you could get 140 apartments and chop that $48,000 down to $24,000, right? You know, $30 per square foot of built up area, 800 square foot apartment, $24,000, then you're doing better than the market. At $60, you're doing worse. And at $30, you're doing better. So my goal, or your goal, I think should be 140 units. And God damn it, how close is the LRT to where you are?
Where's the LRT coming across the, is it cut around, I don't even know where it is on the side. Is it Saint Laurent?
Oh, no.
Or is it past Herdman?
So,
yeah, it's train yards, is it not? It's Herdman Station, isn't it?
Oh, hang on a second. I can check that for you. Give me 1 minute.
Okay, I don't know. I'm drawing a blank here. Where it's at Ottawa U.
Yeah, but we got to figure that out. Hang on a second. Yes, and if any pretty girls walk by, make sure you get them on the camera. All right, so Ottawa LRT phase 2. I'll have it for you in a second. Right, let's see the images. All right.
I thought it was kind of like bypassing Vanier altogether.
I hope not.
Well, I think it like now I'm starting to think Searville Road. There's some future stations on Searville. Yeah. Which is Innis area, right?
Yeah. I'm just gonna look at this. Come on, Brucey. Sorry. So where are we now? So you've got University of Ottawa, Lees, and Herdman. So where are you now? What's the address where you are now?
303.
Yeah, okay, hang on. I'll know in a minute. 303 Kendall, 303 Kendall. This is probably the most important thing that we're doing today is finding out how close you are, and I'll find out how far you are from Herdman. You're 5 kilometers from Herdman Station. That's quite a piece.
Yeah, that's not good. I mean, it doesn't surprise me because I seem to remember when they were announcing it years ago, it was like you fucking bypassed Vanier. I don't know if there's plans to improve the bus service. Yeah, I know one of the things is wherever the LRT is or proposed, that the bus service is supposed to be intensified to push people over to the LRT if you're not relatively close.
Absolutely, yeah. So 5 kilometers from Herdman, and how far are you from Ottawa?
2. You could walk. Like it's about depending where Ottawa, because it's a pretty big school, right? 20 to 30 minute walk. Yeah,
so I'm looking at University of Ottawa from Kendall, And I'm just going to figure out walking distance. 30 minutes to walk to, yeah, 30 minutes to walk from Kendall to the University of Ottawa. And if
So
you,
it's fun in good weather, too
yeah,
far
yeah.
in
Oh yeah, it's
January.
very pleasant. But believe it or not, it's faster to bike there than to drive. Because you can go over, you remember that bridge near the Rideau
Yeah,
Sports Center?
it's that way.
Yeah, so what's it called
On
again?
Donald Street.
Adaway?
It's on Donald Street, right beside Nikki's
Yeah.
place, right? The
It's
Rideau
called,
Tennis Court.
yeah, but it's called the Adaway Crossing. So you're only a couple of minutes away. So if you take your bike, you can get to University of Ottawa in 9 minutes, and that's where, of course, there'll be a station, right?
Yeah.
Now let's
So do
see.
you want to? How do you want to end this? Because I want to say goodbye to the guys.
Yeah, so I want to say goodbye. So can you just walk around the building one more time, just to your right? Just go to the right now so I can see the whole thing. We'll just go around it, then turn once. Oh, very nice. There's a good fence. And you've got, those are 3-story buildings on your right, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So you might end up with a 16 or 18-story building that would be 8 stories on this side, Brian, and 18 on the other side. Do you understand?
So you'd have 2, or you'd have kind
No,
of
no,
a
no,
set
no.
with a standard building?
They would jump up in height. So one building, but it would be
Yeah.
stepped. So you'd have one building on this side. I mean, the plaza, nobody gives a rat's ass. You can go
Yeah.
18 stories on the plaza side. So I would suggest that in any application that you do, it would be 8 stories, which is permitted under the zoning, right?
Yeah.
So 8 stories there, and 18 stories on the other side. So it would step up. So, you know, you're more sensitive to your neighbors. Do you understand?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. And how many parking spaces are you seeing?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10. I would guess at 30 plus.
Oh, that's fantastic. The other thing too is where you have that awning. If you go back to your left,
Yeah.
you know what? I'm a big believer in playland, right? So you've got a place for people to sit and have a burger or fries. You know what you need, right? You need a food truck.
Yeah. No, exactly.
So,
Oh, you know, someone told me that he has a friend who has one on Ogilvy.
yeah,
I don't know if it's true, it's just gossip. He said the guy makes $6,000 a day on the weekends.
I have no doubt. So what you would do here is you would put some outdoor ping pong tables, you know, and a couple of other fun things there, just little stuff that people can fool around with and play.
Yeah.
And nobody can hear us, right? Just you and me.
No. Yeah.
And a food truck, and you'd fill your building up with a bunch of makers. You're going to make some money. All right, let's go back and say goodbye to Joseph and also Hany.
Do you want me to call you back, or are you at a time now?
Do you need to spend time with them alone?
Well, about 10 minutes probably.
Okay, well, that's not a worry. So what I'll do is you just sign out, you know,
Okay.
and then sign back in. I'll do some email while you're doing that. But just let me turn your camera around now so I can see your handsome face, and I'll say goodbye to Joseph and Hany.
All right.
And then just dial back in when you can.
Okay. So Bruce just wanted to say goodbye.
So Hany, I think you have a good partner in Brian, and I think he can do some good things with your building. I think the location is great. Hany, I had a couple of questions for you about the building. Just take a minute. I was going to ask you about, do you have any floor plans for this building? Brian, I can't hear Hany.
He said no.
Okay, so no floor plans, and you don't know who that extra parking belongs to across the street, right?
I think it belongs to the guy next door to us, the Aggerwals, the big mall.
Yeah.
But you know, I'm not 100% positive. I don't know if he bought it from the city or just leasing it from the city. I did not approach the city to inquire about this, about the parking spots.
Yeah, and Hany, just because you've owned this building for a long time, if you were to knock it down, what would you put in its place?
Well, I thought of an apartment building,
Yeah, makes sense.
and I made some massing study for it through my architect, and I had spoken to a consultant from Khotan,
Yeah.
and I shared this information with Brian already.
Okay.
This is what I thought of. I also did, because I'm in the retirement home business, so I did also a study on retirement home. I think this area would do well for retirement suites, and I also was approached before for uh, through my agent. It was a real estate agent that I listed it with, and there was a agency like Aboriginal, something Aboriginal through the government, and they wanted an office building here, and they wanted 50,000 square feet of office building.
Yeah, it's interesting because I worked on one for the Aboriginal community on Richmond Road, but it wasn't actually an office. It was kind of not a retirement center, but a place for Aboriginal persons from the north to come and get rehabilitation if they were struggling with, drug or alcohol abuse. So that's a pretty profitable use for Brazil. And so that's something I'm familiar with. But the idea of putting an office building there is possible. I mean, Brian showed me there's an office building not far away. It looks like a CSIS building or RCMP building, not too far away.
So this is a new building, and it's empty.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and this used to be I think the RCMP. They built it purposely for the RCMP, and it was leased by the federal government, I believe, or the RCMP, and then they decided to put them in Canada, in the Cisco buildings in Canada.
What the heck? It's a good thing they've got you and me to pay the bill.
Well, this was costing.
Government.
I think it was costing around the $2 million a month or something like that in lease.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, so the guy that owns it, of course, doesn't care.
Yeah, but that's a lot of money to spend to keep a building empty. Whatever. So Hany and Joseph, thank you very much for letting me tour your building this way. And Brian, we'll talk to you a little bit later.
Okay, talk to you later.
Okay.
All right. All the best, guys.
Thank you.
Whatever. Hello, boys. I'm back. I'm going to pause the recording now so you don't have to watch me eat. All right, hang on. Let's see. So we're back to recording now. I paused the recording while Brian was sweet talking Hany and Joseph. How did that go?
Good. He's like raring to go. Now this is the guy that wants to do a trade of sorts, although I think on paper it wouldn't be a trade. He would just buy 1.7 acres of, they're actually right very close to John's, like Taylor Creek there in the business park.
Yeah, so I screwed up on the starting the recording, Brian, so I'm just going to recap for the recording. So Brian spent a bit of time talking to Hany and Joseph after we did our little tour, and Brian's just reporting now that the conversation went well. This deal between Brian and Hany has not yet been papered, and the hang-up is whether or not Hany will be paying a big capital gains tax on selling Brian 303 Kendall and purchasing, of course, 1.7 acres of land at Mare Bleu. And one of the questions that I think we have to find out the answer to for Hany and also for you, Brian, is there a lifetime capital gains exemption? I think you're right, Brian. There isn't, because that's for an operating business. But I do think that there is a provision in the capital gains tax law that allows people who sell real estate to make a big capital gain if they reinvest in a similar asset class within a certain period of time, that they do not pay capital gains until they in fact liquidate all of their portfolio, which may or may not happen at some point in the future. So that has to be checked. So Hany will check that with his tax attorney and also his accountant, but you should check that with your accountant as well.
Yeah. He said, and I have to think about this, I think what he said is correct. I just don't know how to leverage it, if it even can be leveraged. But the mall in the front, that's been there for 30, 40 years, maybe longer, is owned by the Aggerwals group, family, whatever, who are building a pretty big project across the street, as we've discussed. I've got to think it's 100 million plus. And so Hany is of the opinion, the belief that, and I don't know how long the Aggerwals have owned the plaza in the front on the corner of Montreal Road and the Parkway, but he thinks they bought it for long-term development, because he's of the opinion that they paid about $13 million for it, which seems to be like a gross overpayment for what it is, right? Just a stereotypical plaza, but it has an excessive or an overabundance amount of parking, right? So you got to think, okay, what did they build it for? Not for what it is, but for what it could be. And he believes that if I lead the charge in getting the variances, that will be of value to them down the road, because they'll cite it as an exception or as an example why they should be allowed to build 15, 20 stories.
So one of the things I've been talking to the city of Ottawa about, some of the senior planners there, is, you may or may not know this, Brian, that the city of Edmonton recently got rid of all of their parking requirements, all of them. If you want to build a huge shopping mall with no parking, okay, you're the developer. If you have no parking and you go broke, tough luck. That's you.
Yeah.
If you want to build a 30-story apartment building with no parking, and the market is okay with that, fine. If the market isn't okay with that, you go broke, too bad. You know, that takes a lot of courage for the capital of oil country to get rid of all parking. And the reason for that Edmonton did it is they want people to use their people mover, their LRT. And this is confidential information, Brian, but the city of Ottawa is trying to hire away the planner who pioneered that in Edmonton. She's apparently a very talented planner. And so something like that could be coming down the pipeline for Ottawa. Edmonton is blazing the path. Nobody would have expected Edmonton to be the city that has the courage to do that. But if you really want to build cities and towns for people. And if you have a big time people mover like Edmonton does have, and Ottawa starting to get with their light rail transit, then put your money where your mouth is, and get rid of all parking. So if you have that plaza in front, and you could go there on Christmas Eve, I'll bet you even on a Christmas Eve, the parking lot will be half empty.
Well, they built I don't know what the rink is called for the Oilers, but I thought there's no parking for the Oilers.
None. No. You go by bus or by light rail or by subway or whatever, and that's it. And you know, I mean, they really have put their money where their mouth is. Edmonton wants to become a more livable city. Edmonton is doing some really neat stuff. For example, they are now winterizing, believe it or not, all of their outdoor patios. They want to copy the city of Copenhagen. Copenhagen has terrible winters. They don't have as much snow as Edmonton or Ottawa, but they get, you know, in Copenhagen, the sun in the middle of winter comes up at 10 in the morning and goes down at like 2 or 3 in the afternoon. It's only up for 4 or 5 hours a day.
Yeah.
And they get all those winds and rains off the North Sea. It's really cold. And I've been there, and it's pretty bleak in the winter. It's dark and it's cold. Again, without the same amount of snow. But in Copenhagen, believe it or not, their patios are open year round. And what they do is they put natural gas heaters out there, infrared heaters out there, kerosene heaters, whatever it might be, propane. And they do a lot with trees, their treescapes, because the best way to defeat the winds is not with walls. Walls are just something that winds laugh at. It's with trees. And so if you plant miniature trees all around, you can sit at, think about you in the wintertime. In the middle of the winter, it could be 25 below in Ottawa, and the wind could be howling. But once you're like 5 feet, like 5 or 6 feet, not 50 feet, not 50 yards, not 100 meters, but once you're literally 5 feet inside the forest, the wind drops to zero.
Yeah.
And so that's the real windproofing. So we can do an awful lot more in places like Quebec City, Montreal, Ottawa, which have really tough winters, and Edmonton, to make our cities much more livable. So anyway, coming back to this property, what was the question? What was the leveraging that you were talking about?
Well, he suggested that, the owner, whether it's him or me or someone else, of Kendall, has a lot of power and importance to the Aggerwals family for their property in the front. He said that if you're successful with getting a variance, an exception to go up 15 stories, 20, whatever, that's going to be value for the Aggerwals group. Plus, he said the way the alignment of the street, and you'd probably have to visit it to get a full appreciation, but Kendall Avenue, it basically exits out into the front parking, like it's a weird street. So, he basically believes, and I know he's the owner, but he thinks his property is absolutely critical for their family to be able to properly redevelop it. And if that's the case, then can you leverage that in some shape or form? I don't know what the answer is.
So what I'd like you to think about, Brian, because nothing comes to mind, is you and I should have a chat with, with the Aggerwals family. I've met them many times over the years, but we shouldn't have that meeting with them until we know what we're asking for.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so we need to think about what we want. But in terms of immediate requirements, I do think, after doing the tour with you, that if we ended up with, say, a dozen maker spaces in that building, at say $1,000 each, plus a little bit of contribution towards operating costs, that you might end up with, $15,000 or $16,000 a month in gross operating income out of the building, and hopefully about $12,000 in net operating income. So with $12,000 of net operating income, these just would be literally month-to-month leases, because you are not going to do anything to the building. You might put a cleanup crew in there and just take out some of the junk and clean it up. But other than that, you'll do nothing. And because it's commercial leasing, as we talked about earlier, if a tenant says, well, I'd really like to put up a divider here, go ahead. Knock yourself out. I mean, it would need your approval. So what I'm going to do after this call is over, I'm going to obviously download your YouTube video, this video to my computer, and then upload it unlisted to YouTube. So you'll have a copy of the little tour that we did.
Okay.
But a couple of things that I think you should do. So one I already talked about is think about what we could ask the Aggerwals. What is it that we could ask them for that would be meaningful and important to you? That would be number one on my list. Number two on my list would be to sketch out, you do it yourself, sketch out a little plan of how you would take 303 Kendall and divide it into 12, maybe 15. 15 would be better than 12 maker spaces. And I will send you the lease I did with Joel Rabideau for a workshop and some office space in my barn building, so you can see what I did. All right, and don't forget that's in the middle of nowhere in Dunrobin. On Kendall in Vanier, I swear to God, I'm sure we're going to find there's at least 500 entrepreneurs with gigs in Vanier who have, $985 a month to spend on renting a workshop there, as I said, plus some contribution towards operating costs, and just on a month-to-month basis. And they, if an artist goes in there and he or she wants to throw some paint around, it becomes a little bit of a funky space, that's fine.
Yeah.
So that would be number two on my list. And then number three on the list, I think would be, to get this thing papered. And I don't think you're working with Steve Shepard anymore. I think maybe he got fired. So who's?
Yeah, not really. I think he's short-staffed, and I think, bluntly, I think he fucked up Wilbrod. I think.
Yeah, I'm not saying. I mean, everybody screws up. You do. I do. I'm sure Steve does too. Even though I think he's pretty good. But so, yeah. Paper.
I mean, the two lawyers that I've worked with over the last 3 months would be Anne Marie. Like, I haven't had much going on, so there, aside from some real estate transactions and renewals, Anne Marie and Sarah's boss, Alex Ferguson, Shreyas' partner.
Of the two, between Alex and Anne Marie, who do you like better?
Well, Alex is Sarah's boss. I mean, he's great, but Anne Marie has access to Pearlie's, like a full suite of lawyers for different needs.
So anyway, you have to make that decision, but you're going to need somebody to paper this deal. This is a complicated deal, and he or she has to be a real estate lawyer.
Well, here, you want to, like, I'm going to sound like I'm complaining. I'm not, but like, it's hard to go a couple days without getting curveball here, curveball there. So let's talk about Hany vis-a-vis Mer Bleu. So the agreement in principle is a $3.4 million sale for his building, paid for 50% with a mortgage on his building and 50% in a vendor take-back that can be forgiven if I deliver him 1.7 acres of land. So that's great, right? Because I get my asking price of $1 million an acre equivalent on Mer Bleu, and I get a building out of it too, right? So that's great. But here's the curveball. So Hany says that he likes the land, he thinks it's valuable, blah, 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 but he doesn't know what he would put on it, and he doesn't know when he would put on it. Now, I don't think he would hold it for 10 years, but it's in my interest because I would own the other 12 and a half acres if I was to give him 1.7, to give it to someone, to sell it to someone that's going to build on it relatively quickly and ideally build something that's quite nice. It doesn't have to be spectacular. And I kind of get the feeling that he might go a little bit more basic with his build. Do I know that for sure? No, but that's in the back of my head. So let's park everything I just said, just park it for a minute. In the last 6 weeks or so, 8 weeks, I've had another client come to me that has interest in the exact same space. Now, he doesn't want a full 1.7. He would want 1 or 1.2. It's 5 doctors. And what they want to do is much grander. They want a 5,000 square foot pharmacy, 9,000 feet on the ground floor of retail space, commercial space, and so 14,000 square foot footprint, and they want 2 stories above. So they want 42,000 square foot building, and they would want Black Sheep to build it. They've been very clear on that. But he only wants to exist where Hany would, in Hany's spot, and I can't have both. Like, even if I convinced one to go on the left side of the property and the other on the right side, I haven't brought this to Hany's attention yet because I don't want to scare anyone, but the other guy has been clear. If Hany's there, he has no interest. Now, before you say anything, Hany has said that he would accept cash for his building. It doesn't have to be land.
Say that again.
Hany has said that he doesn't, like, he's not desperate to buy a Mer Bleu. Like, he would, if I wanted just to give him cash for Kendall Street, he would accept cash. He wouldn't have a problem with that.
Yeah, what I would do though is, you know, you could wholesale the property to Hany.
Yeah.
In other words, you could say, Hany, guess what? You're buying this property, and then you're flipping it to these guys for an extra $100 grand. You can make $100,000 just flipping it.
Yeah.
Do you understand that?
Yeah.
So you put in your deal with Hany. Look, I'm going to buy 303 Kendall. You're buying, I think it was 1.7 acres.
Yeah.
And these doctors, they want 1.7 acres or 2.5 acres.
No, they want less. They want about an acre. I don't know if you could. Yeah, I mean, you could put like 14,000 feet on an acre.
Oh yeah, easy. But you can't. You probably can't put. It just depends on the zoning. Listen, all I'm saying is that you've got to be careful here, Brian. You know, the idea behind 303 Kendall was to be able to mortgage this property and put some cash in your jeans, correct?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
So that's got to be a priority. You know,
yeah.
the promise of somebody, even a wonderful group of doctors, that sometime down the road they're going to buy this land once it's all serviced and everything else, and you're going to build a building and all of that. And if you told me that you could make an extra $1 million with these doctors as opposed to Hany, but you could get $500,000 of cash in your jeans in the next 2 months, I'd almost be inclined to go with the $500,000 in cash now.
Yeah.
Just because you need it.
Exactly.
I mean, you've told me, you know, that you know, it's a bit of a struggle right now for you.
That would be that's a very polite way of.
Right. So, well, I am very polite, as you know, most of the time.
It's tight.
Yeah. So, as you know, cash is king. And the number one thing that a chief executive officer has to do is make sure that he or she and his company or her company never run out of goddamn money. That's the number one thing a CEO has to do. It's not necessarily, you know, we all think of Steve Jobs as a great visionary, which certainly he was, an amazing person in his generation, right? A generational talent. That's what he was. But when he took over Apple, after he got kicked out and then he got rehired, Apple was 6 or 8 weeks away from going bankrupt. And you know the story. He went to Bill Gates at Microsoft and said, Bill, I need a loan of 120 million. Maybe it was 150 million. I don't remember. Something like that, which for Bill Gates and Microsoft would be like buying a cup of coffee for Steve.
Yeah.
So they can certainly do it. And Bill said, why would I lend money to my number one competitor? And Steve said, well, because if you don't, and the US government comes after Microsoft for antitrust, you're going to end up spending billions and billions and billions of dollars defending yourself and maybe having to chop Microsoft up into 5 or 6 different pieces. You're going to lose maybe hundreds of billions of dollars, but certainly in the tens of billions of dollars. Whereas this is a loan that's repayable. And now you can say, look, to the US government, oh, we're not a monopoly. Just because we have 92 or 93% of the operating system market doesn't mean we're a monopoly. We've got Apple that has, you know, 5 or 6 or 7% of the operating system. But if Apple goes out of business, then you will have virtually 100%, and then the government will come after you. And Bill thought about it for maybe a couple minutes. Says, Oh, okay. I'll give you the lifeline that you need. So even though he was a great visionary, he also understood his number one job is to make sure that they have enough cash to operate so that they can live for another day. And with all due respect, that's your number one job right now.
I agree.
So what I would really like you to do is reach out to your tax attorney, your accountant, and find out the answer to this question, whether or not capital gains could be avoided if Hany reinvests in a similar category of asset. Because I agree with you, I don't think the lifetime capital gains exemption will apply here. And once you have that, you go back to Hany and say, look, Hany, this is what my accountant says. You have to check it with your own guy, but let's paper this fucking deal. Excuse my language. So let's paper this deal. It's good for you and it's good for me. Then you paper that goddamn deal. And then we go out and we try and put a mortgage on 303 Kendall that will give you, I think it was $500,000 you were going to net in cash.
Yep.
And once you have $500,000 in cash, you can afford to pay a coach.
Yes.
Which is really important. That's the only reason I'm saying that. No, all kidding aside, but you know, it's a few $1,000. But all kidding aside, you know, that's, you know, Sarah will be happier with you. You'll be happier with you. And then, you know, everything else will be a lot easier. The number one thing that craters most marriages, and it certainly causes most worry, and I'm no different. You know, if I'm short on cash, that's very stressful for me. And no doubt your life is extremely stressful. So that is the thing that I think we should focus on. And then we can focus on how to make Kendall, you know, like if we, I'm sure we can net $12,000 a month from that place on month-to-month leases with a bunch of people who need mini offices, co-working spaces, maker space. I don't care what they use it for. Come on down. You got a few $100, you can have a fucking office.
Yeah.
You know, get out of your home and come here. And I'm having a lot of success with micro offices, mini offices. And you know that of all the people you talk to, I know more about running co-working spaces, micro workshops, mini office, mini contractors, anything with the word mini in it, I seem to be the guy. And I'm sure we can get, so with $144,000 of net operating income, you can afford a pretty big mortgage, I think.
Yeah, well, say, so if they gross that or netted that down to say 100.
No, I think we can net, no, the goal will be $12,000 a month net.
Well, I think then that is about $2 million of debt.
And how much did you want to, what kind of a mortgage did you want to put on this thing?
Well, the minimum would be 1.7 million
I mean, we think it's worth 3.4 million, okay? So if we go 3.4 million times 0.65, that's $2.2 million mortgage.
Yeah.
That should be a no-brainer. And if you put a $2.2 million mortgage on there, I'm pretty sure that this building will carry that. So 2.2 million, out of that, how much cash will you actually end up with in your hot little hand?
Well, so here's the, it would be a cheaper purchase than normal because we'd be purchasing 100% of the shares because it's held in a holdco.
Yeah.
So we would be able to avoid the land transfer tax, which would be probably close to 50 grand, I think.
Yeah.
3.4. So the ignoring lending fees, the legals would be under 10 grand, right? So so it would be a relatively cheap building to buy that way. 1.7 would have to go to Hany, so that would leave. You said 2.2 million.
Yeah.
So that would leave 500 gross, but you'd want to capitalize some of the like there would be fees in there. So I think you'd net out maybe 300,000.
Yeah. So what we want to do is we want to go then not 65%, we want to go 70%. So I think we can, hang on a second, 3.4 times 0.7. So that's about $2.4 million mortgage. So I think you can get 2.4 on it. And because I want you to have $500,000 after fees and expenses and legal fees, because $500,000 will give you enough breathing room to do the things you need to do. Because you're closer today to getting out of the shit that you've been in than you have been for a long time.
I agree. All the pieces are there.
All the pieces are there. But if we don't get this Kendall deal done, then we got to find something else. And by the way, if Rod Bryden were on this call, I know Rod's a very difficult person, but if Rod Bryden were on the call, he would tell you Brian, I know this because he's a very difficult person, but he's not stupid, right? He's a very smart man. He would tell you that whenever he was in financial difficulties, he wouldn't sell anything, he would buy something. And he was right. I didn't understand, I was a young guy when he told me that. I was 38 or 39, and he was older and much more experienced than I was. And I thought, really? I mean, most people, when they're in trouble, they sell something. Right? What can I sell? What can I sell? Can I sell my car? Can I sell my old computer? Well, an old computer might get you $100 if you're lucky, and your old car might get you 500, but it certainly won't get you 500,000. So what you're doing on Kendall is smart. And if this doesn't work, we're gonna have to find something else that will. So you're doing the right thing. Plus, on top of that, the Kendall property on its own, especially if you can get 140 apartments as opposed to 70, is going to be a fantastic deal for you.
Now, I've done this once before with Joseph's property, but it's probably, I've only done it once, so I don't know how easy it is. And I think Joseph is probably a little bit less sophisticated than Hany. But when I bought Joseph's property on Montreal Road, the bakery there, it was a 70% first mortgage. And then Joseph took a vendor take back for the difference. But so with everything, and we netted out like 25,000 in cash. So, but it ends up being like 110% financing. So I don't know if I got a 70% first on Kendall, I would need Hany to come up with 35% or 40, I think, to cover some of the
oh, Christ.
costs.
The entire difference between what you come up with on the first mortgage and the amount owing is simply a seller take-back mortgage in second position.
And it doesn't really, like, I know people get nervous. They go, oh, fuck you, you've got technically, like, think about, so we got let's use really easy numbers. So if we had a $2.5 million mortgage that netted out, say, 2.3 because there was 200,000, well, that's a lot of fees, but whatever. So it's 200,000 in fees, right, from the lender. So I give Hany 2.3 million. So his mortgage would be 1.1, right? But then you add, so we would end up with like 3.6 million of debt on the $3.4 million purchase.
That doesn't.
You don't think that's important?
No, I don't, and I'll tell you why. Once you own a property, a day or two later, he can register his second mortgage, and his second mortgage could be a $10 million registration. Who the hell knows?
Doesn't matter.
I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, and I think like you, I'm just like, if he pushes back, what's the response to 105 or 110% financing? Like,
well, what you would do is, as we talked about before, is if he wanted, he could have a third mortgage or whatever it is on Mare Bleu.
Okay, so he could extend it, he could blanket it over
so he
to
would
provide additional security.
Exactly. He said, look, not to worry. We'll give you extra security over here. You're completely covered every which way, because that land on Mare Bleu, it's about 14 acres. It's worth about 15 or 16 million dollars today. Say it's worth 16 million dollars. You don't have 16 million dollars in debt on that thing.
No, there's just under 3 million.
Yeah, so you've got like 13 million dollars worth of room. So Hany, here's your blanket security, and here's your value.
And that's how you're going to free up cash.
That's how you free up $500,000 in cash, and you're not going to pay goddamn $200,000 in fees on an existing building with a plan. So I have another coaching call. I apologize, Brian, coming up in 7 minutes. I got to get ready for it. But are you clear on what you need to do?
Yep. I'm gonna ask Shreyas to help structure the deal as well from a legal point of view to pay for it.
You do need somebody. I could do it for you, but as a realtor, I'm not going to. I want to be a coach. You've got enough realtors around you. You've got enough lawyers around you. You can figure it out. But once you have it done, I will review it as your coach. Okay?
Yeah. Perfect.
Because I know how to do these things. I've done them before. And whether or not we are fans of Rod Bryden, I did learn something from him, right?
You can take all of his ideas and just put some nobility in it.
So let me just go through it. I'll just summarize. I'm going to send you the Joel Rabideau lease so you get a sense of what it's like to do these leases. It's pretty complicated, but it's a good lease. You can use that to lease your own workshops and stuff like that. You're going to do a little bit of a plan yourself, just sketch it out as best you can on what you could do with 303 Kendall to hopefully get 12 or 15 workshops there. You're going to ask your accountant about the capital gains tax exemption by investing it. You're going to think about what kind of an ask we can ask of the Aggerwals, and you're going to paper your deal on 303 Kendall so that absolutely, at the end of the day, 500,000 in cash, okay?
Beautiful. I'll get back to you.
I look forward to it.
Okay, thanks. Bye-bye.